Okay, 8.1 functions. This is quite easy, so I'm going to use the book for most of it, but I'm just going to run through one thing with you in the beginning. So if I tell you that g of x is 4x plus 3, okay, and then I want to find g of 2k plus 4. All I do is x becomes 2k plus 4. That is 8k plus 16 plus 3. That is 8k plus 19. And that's all it is. Now they might tell you g of 2k plus 4 equals to 2. So that therefore equals to 2. That's going to be minus 17. When I bring over the 19, 8k equals to that. K equals minus 17 over 2. Well, what am I doing? Yeah, minus 17 over 8. Okay, that's all there is to it. You know, it's not overly complicated, it's quite easy. Now what I'm going to run through with you is just some of the words and what defines a function, what doesn't define a function. Okay, so if we look here, we've got our domain and our range. Yeah. So domain is inputs, range is outputs. Yeah. So if I've got a function x plus 2, x is the input, or 1 is the input, the output, 1 plus 2 is 3, so that is the output. That's it, domain and range. Really simple. What defines a function? I'm going to run through it in two parts. How you're going to do it from a graph and how you're going to do it from these little bubble things. Two outcomes, two inputs can never happen. So you can never have two lines coming out of this. This can't, like g of 1, if f of x is x plus 1, well that's kind of like saying if I put 1 in, it equals to 2 and 3. It doesn't, it equals to just one of those. But in this case, if I said here, this might be g of x equals to x squared. Well, 2 squared is 4. Yeah, hopefully you can see that it's a 4. And minus 2 squared is 4. So that works. Okay? So we've got our domain and we've got our range. Now, if I was to give you codomain. Codomain is basically all possible outcomes. Yeah, so you got a pretty poor example in your book here. But here's how I would do it. I'll write it underneath. Let's say if I got 1, 2, 3, and I got my outcomes of being 5, 6, and 7. And I say 1 goes to 5, 2 goes to 5, and 3 goes to 6. My range there is 5 and 6, and my codomain is 5, 6, and 7. I know that's very small to see there, but you can hear me saying it. I'll actually draw it out here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. 1 goes to 5, 2 goes to 5, arrow it, and 3 goes to 6. My range is 5 and 6. My codomain is 5, 6, and 7. That's all possible outcomes. Okay? Now, this is a tricky way of putting it. Or is the domain. Yeah, that's your inputs. Or here is the codomain. That's all possible it's all possible outcomes. Okay, so that's your domain, that's your codomain. Now this is the input. Very similar, basically the same thing. This is what's actually going to come out. Your output, your list of outputs is the range. The list of possible outputs is codomain. Okay, so let's say if I give you g of x equals to x squared. Well, our list of possible outcomes are all possible positive numbers, isn't it? Because anything squared is positive. But the range might actually we might have two inputs, 1 and 2, so it might be 1 and 4 are our outputs, which is our range. While our codomain in that example would be or plus any positive real number. Okay? If I want to test out if something's a function from a graph, so we've done the exact same before, all you're going to do is draw a line down. It can't at any point hit it twice. If I draw a line down here, it hits it twice, it's not. Okay, running through some of these examples. This here is a function. Yeah? This here, if I draw this line, it hits it twice, not a function. Function. Simple. Next. Function, not a function, function. Okay, they explain it there. Function, function, function. Now, if I'm saying codomain and range here, okay, let's deal with this one here. Well, no, let's deal with this one here first, actually. So, they tell us, they give us a function here, okay, and they want to know our range. Yeah, well, if you think about it, our range is the y-axis, so that goes from 4 to infinity, because it goes up forever and ever. Now, the codomain is all possible numbers. Yeah, and yeah, so for the second one, our range is all possible numbers, or sorry, our codomain is all possible numbers. Our range, because it goes from 0 to 2, it's going to go from a half to 1 over 0 is infinity. Okay, simple. This one here, they actually tell you that the range goes from -1 to 1. So the codomain is -1 to 1 as well. Really simple. It's actually kind of well explained here in the book. This appears a little bit limser, but nothing too much. The homework I want you to do is, this is going to sound more complicated when I explain it. It's one of these weird ones, when you explain it, it seems more complicated, but when you do it, it is quite simple. I want you to do 40 minutes on page 236, getting your head around all of these. I think that's fair enough. Okay, good work.